was a dangerous shot to play. I think he has left something to the right middle, but again, it wouldn't be an easy one. He needed that cue ball to be right under the rail there, where behind the black. Just giving him a good sight of the cue ball from where it's finished. A lot of pressure on it though if he goes for the red. Really good shot. Played with confidence, and he knew that he wouldn't leave an awful lot. Of course, the red he played would have been one he could have stuck, but he never looked like missing it once he got down on it.
Seven. Eight.
They're looking at three very one-sided frames so far. Frames where only one player of the two has actually scored any points. Whitewash in the first frame for Murphy, a whitewash
13.
for Selby, and Shaun hasn't scored in this frame either. And I don't know if he'll get a chance to. Again,
14.
where the balls are, those three reds are lined up beautifully. He's perfectly on the blue to land in behind them as well. Things looking up now for Mark.
Murphy can see all too easily that Selby is very likely to clinch the frame here.
20. $27. 28.
Just thinking back, I can't think of anything that Shaun's missed in the last two frames. Chances just haven't come his way. So he shouldn't feel too bad about the way it's gone, just that he's got to hope that he gets an early chance in frame 4, because this frame is gone.
35.
All that Mark Selby has ever wanted to do is play snooker. He learned his trade
38.
at the Willie Thorne Snooker Centre in Leicester, sadly now defunct, where Willie's elder brother Malcolm was an indefatigable organiser of junior tournaments, and month after month in the resultage, young Selby would be there winning some age group event, and went on from there to turn professional when he was 16. As Neil said earlier, at that time he had, well, the world's longest backswing almost, even for relatively soft shots. And he got to a ranking final playing like that, but his standard just shot up out of all recognition when he adopted a more compact action.
42. 43. 47. 48. 55.
Raising the bridge to avoid the push shot.
55. And
Not that it mattered by then, because with an earlier break of 32 and the clinching 55, Mark Selby has taken a 2-1 lead.
Welcome back to Coventry for the opening exchanges in the Champion of Champions tournament. It's the opening match from Group 2 featuring Mark Selby and Shaun Murphy. Murphy took the opening frame, Selby the second and the third. This is now the fourth with Murphy at the table.
foul and a miss. Mark Selby.
At that angle, that had to be a very thin edge.
Just thinking that, Clive. Kayla, of course, calling a miss. And a very direct shot at it. It was a very thin contact needed there. Not being replaced, though, because Mark likes the chances here of putting this. Certainly, Murphy was in trouble on that last shot. I think the idea of hitting that red was a good one. But unfortunately, no contact made. And this frame might take the same pattern as the previous two, except he has had a little chance already. But I think somehow you get the feeling that when there's safety battles over a period of frames, Selby ends up with one or two more chances coming his way than perhaps Shaun Murphy would get. He's a very tight safety player, Selby.
6.
Well, I think it's fair to say that Selby out-safetied Ronnie O'Sullivan in the final of the Antwerp Open on Sunday. 3-1 down he was. Came through to win 4-3. It's one of his hallmarks that he's very dangerous coming from a long way behind. In fact, to win the UK last year, he 3-0 down to Ryan Day in the best of 11, won that. 4-0 down to Neil Robertson, beat him 6-4. Very, very formidable competitor.
Talking of Ronnie O'Sullivan, he's playing in this event, and I know that he should do, and as a champion of the world for 2 years running, then
11.
he was always eligible, but we all know that Ronnie's not played in everything. I'm so pleased he's here. Plays on Friday. He's in a group with Ding Junhui, who's won the last 3 ranking events. So are we allowed to call it the group of death on Friday or not?
12.
Is that fair?
Well, a very tough group anyway.
Yeah, it's a cliche. They're all tough, but I mean, there's other players in that little section of the draw, but mouth-watering possibility of best of 11 on Friday evening between Ding Junhui and Ronnie O'Sullivan. But you're right, they're all tough, and that's a great shot.
17.
Once again, a nice shot to finish topside there. He had to really give it a bit extra. Easy to underscrew those. And I wonder if he'll just nudge into the pink and the 3 reds. He doesn't have to, but he has the perfect angle just to play a little gentle nudge into them. That's the problem. Even when you play a shot so measured as he did there, there are no
20.
guarantees. This next red's tricky. He's close to it. And it's quite a thin cut.
24.
One of the secrets of success for a top player is consistency on pots which are within your normal range of ability. That was quite a tricky cut, but he certainly expected to get it.
29.
But this is how he
30.
wins matches. Just keeps on chipping away, playing tight safety, gets in and is very content to wait for his chances. Doesn't ever seem to allow himself to go cold on playing the safety shots when they come. He wins, and Shaun Murphy has got a lot of thinking to do. How's he going to get back into this? If he trails 3-1, then he's got to win the last 3, or he's gone. But what do? You can't take on rash shots. I think the only advice I would give is to try and get the balls open and hope that he got in first. Not saying that he can't play equally as well tactically, but I do think Selby particularly strong at it, and he relishes it as well. Not dissimilar to the way that Steve Davis was in his prime.
37.
He was a very tight safety player who would be more than happy to grind you with it. Other days he would just put all the balls.
$43. $44. $50.
Not interested in
51.
playing to get the black into play or anything like that. He doesn't need the black, his opponent does. Just this colour and a further red, and mathematically the frame will be his.
Played with left of strength, left of
57.
centre striking to retain perfect position on this important red. Effectively frame ball.
Yeah, he had a glance at the
58.
scores there importantly before that shot. He knew that that was the one he wanted. If this pink doesn't go in, I suspect that Shaun will play on. Otherwise, well, I think he will now, but there's a mountain decline from here.
58.
A couple of snookers required.
A 58 break then from Selby, his 5th over 30 in 3 frames. Murphy has been restricted to 6 points in 3 frames. Just shows what a hard competitor Selby is.
Mark Selby won and the frame.
So largely through his break of 58, Mark Selby increases his lead over Shaun Murphy to 3-1. That is 2 up with 3 to play.
Welcome back to the Champion of Champions tournament. It's the opening Group 2 match between Selby and Murphy. Selby has had the better of the opening exchanges, leading 3-1, just a frame away from the win. Murphy at the table, building on a break of 28.
Great shot, though. I think sometimes your mind is made up as a player. If there's no obvious safety shot on, might as well go for the pot. Gives you something to hope for. It's very well struck. Might just be 1 point. He might decide to play safe from this. Don't think he can get into enough of the black. So he'll be looking at his 28-point advantage and trying to nurse that along.
Rem. Shaun Murphy 1.
No easy way back to bolt from here. The red to the right of the pink is one he could hit to the right-hand side as we look, but he's still got to find a path back from there up to bolt with other reds that he could hit on the way back or on the way down. Pretty well played. There's always a way, isn't there? He's found one there. That's a great safety shot. The second really good safety shot he's played in this match. Wasn't an awful lot of room. It's almost a bit of billiards knowledge to get his cue built for that little gap. Not sure if he plays the game.
It used to be said that young players needed to play some billiards to start with as a way of learning all the angles, but I don't think that applies any longer, because you get players reaching top class without having played billiards in their lives.
Yeah, I think a few of the young players around when I grew up used to have a game of billiards and would make a 100 break, and they'd call it snilliards, because you'd be pointing the red most of the time. You wouldn't be playing all that many cannons or anything that was properly in keeping with the game of billiards. Steve Davis was a decent player. And we have a former world, in fact, I'm not sure if he's the current world billiard champion, Pankaj Advani. He certainly has won that title, and he's on the tour now.
Yes, and played in a tournament in China in preference to defending his World Billiards title, which this year was won by Peter Gilchrist, who was born in Middlesbrough but now lives in Singapore.
Well, that's another weak safety shot. And again, all you can say, he looks to be playing well enough, Shaun Murphy, but he's just losing out in the tactical and safety exchanges. He wouldn't be the first against Selby to have done so.
Ah, well, there's a bit of encouragement for Murphy.
I don't think Selby fancied the red, did he? Because playing it that way to screw back up the table, invariably you're worried about the cue ball as much as the pot. He didn't get either part of the shot right, did he? So, all is not lost for Shaun.
One.
Didn't want to cannon the yellow.
No, cue ball's not under complete control again. I think he seems to be getting into the cue ball a bit too much on those shots. I'm sure he meant to come to the right of the yellow as we were looking on the way back. Oh, look at that for a shot. Now that is ball striking. Too much in the end. He hit it too well. Can you believe that? He's finished where he has. I don't think you can see a ball hit any better than that one. Look at this, Clive.
Got the cue right through the cue ball, travelling at maximum acceleration as it went through the ball. That's the secret of those deep screws. Would have preferred to have finished on brown or green, but not a bad second prize.
Well,
it's not a nice shot to be left with, playing slowly across there. You had a look to see if the red will actually pop, but say the answer is no to that. He's got the line of the shot right, but he's got to hit it a little bit more with a bit more speed. Sometimes the harder you hit these, it changes the angle ever so slightly that it comes off the cushion. I expect him to get it, but it just isn't a very nice shot to be left with. He's hit this much too hard. Much too hard. Overcompensated.
Yeah, and has come round it. Needed to leave the cue ball smothered up against the red. But he was in deep trouble there.
Six. Seven.
He's closing in on the frame. This takes him into a 50-point lead. And there are certainly two more reds out in the open.
$13. 14.
Pink and one more red then, needed to secure the frame.
You just check that on the scores as well, so the remaining, of course, will go down
20.
to 8 points when this red's down, because the red and black are no longer available. So he's 1-1 back.
21.
I think if he'd have lost 4-1, it wouldn't have been that fair a reflection. I don't think he's played that badly. It's one or two aspects of his game have not been completely right, but I think he's hitting the ball well, as I say. That shot we saw earlier that tucked him behind the yellow after tells us that Mark Selby is far from over the line yet in this match.
29.
The highest available spot for the black was the brown.
It's been the longest frame of the match so far, this one. We had one that was 17 and a half
35.
minutes, on to 22 minutes, but it's been a fairly fluent match so far between these two.
36.
We're going to see a lot of matches like that this week. There's no slow players here or anything like that. The very best players in the world. No one that springs to mind isn't here that
42.
should be.
$43. $45. $47. $47 and the frame.
And with that 47 break, Shaun Murphy pulls the frame back, but Mark Selby still leads by 3 frames to 2.
Welcome back to the Champion of Champions tournament. It's the opening Group 2 match between Mark Selby and Shaun Murphy.
Thank you. Frame 6. Shaun Murphy to break.
Shaun Murphy has reduced his arrears from 3-1 to 3-2, but he's still within a frame of defeat. Cracking long red from
1.
Selby, punishing Murphy's imperfect break-off.
Yes, and the cue ball stopped just this side of the baulk line as well, which means he's perfectly on the yellow from it.
Three. Four.
A little bit weak, that one. Has a red out on the left of the table if he's straight on this to continue the break. I don't think he's got much of an angle and may have got a very slight kick. We haven't had to say that word once yet today. We hope we don't have to say it too many more times. Conditions do seem very good. And that red's on, but he couldn't get very close to it.
Nine. Ten.
Well, I wouldn't say this is a frame-winning chance just yet. There's the
15.
red that he's on, the colour, not easy to get in behind either. Well, that definitely jumped. From that low angle, you
16.
could see it. But he's on the pink all right.
But for the kick, I think he would have been nearer the pink. No spot available for the pink, so it goes as near as possible to its own spot in a direct line between it and the black spot, as near as possible to the nearest ball without touching it.
Yeah, and he's hoping that that plant is still
22.
available once the pink is respotted. I think it will be, but it's got to be made. It's not in line, and there is a gap between the two reds, so he's got to try and make it into a plant somehow. Cue ball up to bulk, I think, will be his priority, though. It's far from easy.
Mark Selby, 22.
Always looked like that break was going to be a struggle. Never really got into a good position once.
One. Rambo. Shaun Murphy, 1.
Covering the escape down the right-hand side of the table, which would be from the safe side into the bunch of reds. There's more danger from the left-hand side. And in the end it turned out that he didn't quite cover the escape down the right. Just a brief financial note. The worst that can happen to the loser of this match is that he walks away with £5,000. The winner will take at least £10,000 for his efforts, but of course the £100,000 first prize is the ultimate target.
Yes, and of course that means that whoever comes out of this little winner of this section tonight has got at least £20,000 and the chance to get that 100 grand at the end of it all. The game is changing very quickly. A lot of big money events now. All the 5 ranking events in China have got very big prize funds. More tournaments in the offing all the time. Players work hard, but get pretty well rewarded for that.
Yes, it's all happened in the Hearn Revolution. It's only 3 years ago that the circuit was down to 6 ranking events plus the Masters. Now there are almost 30 events of one sort or another.
Well, just a little swerve needed for this. Don't know if Mark's got any shot to pop that red that's on the left of the table into the left corner and get the cue ball back through a gap, back to Bulk. He'd like that opportunity to be there. There's the red. It clearly pots, but he's looking at something else. I think he doesn't believe that the gap's big enough that he could get through for sure. So he's opting for an out-and-out safety shot here. It's very strong in this department. Again, a very, very nice shot there. One of those situations with a colour over one of the corner pockets, and it's not impossible that in a few shots a lot of the reds might find their way over the top of it, because that's the angle players are coming in from now, knowing that pocket's blocked.
It would have been a very good shot to get in behind the brown, as he attempted.
I think it's troublesome though. He's got awkward cueing on over that brown to play the safety shot. He's played it well enough. But it's got that look about it, this frame, where those reds might end up over the top of the pink.
Well, that's changed things.
Hasn't it just? He knew nothing about that. He never even had a look to see if that red would pot. And almost the stalemate has ended. It wasn't much of a stalemate, but this, how on earth it's gone round the back of there into the pocket, I'll never know. Ah, just flicked a red on the way through, slightly changed the angle. All was revealed there. Let's another look at this now. What happened here? If you look, it flicks a red on the way through, just flicks that one, and that's why it went in. Otherwise, I don't think the angle was on to go behind the pink and in. Well, there's not much angle on this either to pot it and come away from that corner, but he's got the cue power, I suppose, to do it. Yeah, I think he hit the wrong side of it. It looked easy, but it actually wasn't the way it shaped up that shot.
It took snooker over 100 years to think of cue extensions, but it's difficult to imagine the game without them now.
Yeah, the old half butt and three-quarter butt cues on the side of the table are almost redundant now, aren't they? Very rarely get used.
One.
They're still there in some form, but that's not quite what we used to see, is it? It used to be the long cue. It used to shake around when you used to try and use it to play a shot with. They seem to be gone.
Murphy hasn't played a good positional shot from his initial red. I think he was playing to cannon another red and leave himself on the black.
Yeah, he's finished right in between shots, Clive, hasn't he? He's got 3 pots. I mean, he's probably going to have to take on...
Yellow.
Well, he's taking on the yellow. So that's interesting. Hard to imagine he wouldn't have been on a colour there. That is a terrible shot. That is a shocker. He may as well have gone for the blue. He's left the red on. I don't know if he feels there's any excuse for that, like it drifted or whatever, but he played it very firmly. If he plays it slower, then I don't see how he could possibly have misjudged it. If he'd have just dropped this onto it, even if it did slightly drift off, maybe unwanted side. Either way, it was a pretty poor shot. Well, I thought he could get onto the black, and I tell you what, it's a tremendous shot if he's on it, because that is probably the only place that he could have got into that black. It might be tight. Yeah, you can get to that all right. Maybe just a touch of what would be right-hand side from his side of the table, I think. Fine positional shot. If he goes any further down the table, the black won't cut in. Now he's looking at what kind of cannon he can get onto the red. He can't avoid the red on that's above it via the cushion. I think he'd be happy enough with that. You just feel that with the score 3-2 and with Selby 1 away, this is more of a Selby frame than a Murphy frame that we've seen here. Quite a lot of safety involved.
Well, it's looking like a Selby frame at the moment. 30 in front, easy black to follow. Plenty more reds in possible positions. Could be frame and match coming up.
16. $17.
Yeah, you can see which red he wants to play on. It's the one just slightly furthest to the left of the table, up a couple. It's the only one that will go. It'll open up others though once this one is potted. It was a key shot actually when, after the poor shot of Murphy's where
24.
Selby got from red to black. Didn't have much room to play with, but may have been a match winner, that shot.
$25. $28.
He wants a red and a colour, and he's through. And he has played the better of the two. He came here with lots of confidence, having won a PTC the night before last in Antwerp, beating the world champion in the final, Ronnie O'Sullivan. So confidence at a premium, more so than Shaun, who hasn't been in the form of his life recently.
So black leaves Murphy needing 2 snookers. That red gives Selby all the extra insurance he's likely to need. So Shaun Murphy's disappointing run of results continues. He's in a bit of a slump at the moment, but I'm sure that
4-2-1.
he will get out of it at some stage.
42.
He's too good a player not to.
$49. $50.
I guess the problem is no chance to build confidence in this event. This is the champion of champions. You're playing a great player first up.
57.
And in Selby, a player who's played very solidly indeed, very few unforced
59.
errors, 6 breaks over 30 in the 4 frames that he's won, including this one.
$62.
Not quite finished yet, but it won't be long.
$66.
This, in fact, Selby's highest break of the match. He's also had 2 other half centuries, 55 and 58. And with that run of 66, the UK champion Mark Selby beats Shaun Murphy by 4 frames to 2. He'll be back this evening against the winner of the next match between John Higgins and Stephen Maguire.
Mark Selby